good childhood. I had a loving mother and a loving father, and my sisters and my mother doted on me and my brother. Me and my younger brother were almost inseparable when we were young, and we played every day, long and hard. But when we got older, we had to work, because my father, I really had two fathers. One at a younger age that did things with us all the time and would build us stuff and play sports with us and everything like that. But when we reached the age of 13, he swapped over, and it was all about work, because that's who he was. Your value was how hard you worked. And so we tried to please him, and we worked hard. And anyway, so it was kind of a shock to be growing up one way, and then all of a sudden things changed. It was almost like from being a son, having a loving father, to being a worker for him, because that's kind of what he thought we were when we got old enough to work. And I guess that affected me later in life, because I became a workaholic, and I tried to please him by working real hard, because that's what I thought my worth was, to hard work. And he thought if you had any problems, you could work your way out of it. Now my mom, she was a whole different person. We got all of our good values from her, accepting everybody, not being judgmental, and loving, and I appreciate that. As I grew up and I started school, I wasn't a very good student. And even though my dad would take us to church 3 times a week, I didn't pay attention in Sunday school either, like I didn't in class. But anyway, I made it through the 12th grade, and I went on to college. And at college, that's where I found my wife, Patty. And when I first saw her, I thought she was the prettiest thing I ever seen. And so I asked some mutual friends we had, I said, can you fix me up with her? That's the way we do it in America. Our parents don't fix it up. We get a friend, or we meet somewhere and we exchange and stuff like that. But anyway, and they said, no, we're not going to do it. But by God's grace, we were going on a blind date one time, and we didn't know exactly who our date was, because I didn't know her name really, and she didn't know mine. And she had seen me before, and she was drawn to me also. So when I went to pick her up and we saw each other and who it was just like a blessing, you know, that the Lord has sent us. We continue to date, and although we were as different as could be, she was from the north of the U.S. and I was from the south, and it's just 2 different cultures. And even the way we talk and things we do, and she was well educated, and I was kind of average. And anyway, we did click though, because we loved one another soon after we started dating, and I would write her poems, which is just completely out of character for me, and she loved those poems, and still has them. But anyway, it 6 months later we got married, and 5 years later, like she said, we had 3 kids. Tommy was born in 1973. Patrick was born in 1974, and our daughter, which I was going to keep trying till I got a daughter, was born in 1975. And out of our 3 kids, we have 8 grandchildren and 1 step-grandchild. And they've been such a blessing to us, because it's almost like God gave us a second chance, where we messed up on our kids for whatever reason, you know, raising them. Well, we did it different with those grandkids, you know, and we're so blessed that God gave us a second chance at kids. But anyway, when I grew up on the farm, I had to work real hard, like I said, when I got older. And every day after school, I would have to work. And during the summer, while other kids from the school would be going to learn how to do this or that, well, I had to work on the farm. And I kind of got resentful of it. And I swore I would never go to the farm when I left it. And so I didn't. When me and Patty got married, I had some service stations in another town just a little ways from where I was raised. And after 10 years of that, we tried another thing, and we moved to Houston, which is a big city, spread out like the cities of India, and they never end, you know, with approximately 3 million people there. And we stayed there for a year, and it was just too much for us with all the traffic and the jams, and especially for a country boy that wasn't used to that. And so one day my sister called and she said, "Your dad needs help on the farm." And I wasn't particularly wanting to go to the farm, but my wife was dreaming of an idyllic place to raise children, and she told me about it, and I jumped on board with her. And so we moved to the farm, and you have to understand, she was raised in the city and I was raised on a farm, another difference. And anyway, we came back to the farm, and we enjoyed some of those early years with the kids there, and them being raised on a farm like I was. It was a special thing for me, and I appreciate her suggesting that we come back. The early years on the farm seemed to be pretty good, and we got into the swing of it, and with the kids and everything seemed to be going good as when they were young. But at the time we came into the farm, it couldn't have been the worst time, and that was in the 80s when everything was going bankrupt